Hey, this is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. And if you're wanting to learn how to embrace change and navigate through disruption as a leader, then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend, Denis Gianoutsos. He's prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos.
So I started this agency, a digital agency back in 2013, like you mentioned, specializing in search engine optimization. However, 10 years prior, I was actually doing advertising sales as my first career move. I was doing B2B sales to SMBs, small, medium-sized businesses, and I was actually doing traditional marketing, selling ad space, as well as online digital performance-based online marketing. So understanding the different types of marketing roles and dynamics in traditional bricks and mortar storefront, billboards, banners, to then the digital, which is email, banner ads, display, paid, contextual, retargeting ads, social. It gave me a good foundation of what worked and what didn't work at different stages of when people were looking and seeking for advertising. And I actually worked at Yellow Pages for 5 years. And that gave me a great grasp roots of how to sell, how to understand and fact find, but then also position businesses to have the right product at the right time when people are engaged seeking out the product and service. And as there was a transformation of how people were utilizing advertising to find businesses that match at that time of purchase. So that's when I gravitated towards either working for, say, the Googles of the world or Facebooks, Amazons, or try something different and unique, which was start my own agency. I didn't know anything about SEO. I knew there was a need in the marketplace for a reputable business, a company that people can trust, doing things very authentic, transparent, and they just wanted that relationship ultimately. So I set foot and sold because that's my strength. And then I built a business around it. And I made tons of mistakes along the way, but I'm still here after 9 years and I'm loving every single day and year and month working with my team and my clients.
So this will be year 9 for you. That's pretty impressive. So well done. Now, the Yellow Pages, funny you say that because we got our phone book, our new phone book for the year, and it is so small. It is amazing. And I'm like, how come we still got a phone book nowadays? It's really quite interesting to see that coming through. Tell me a little bit more about the journey, the transition from the role that you were doing before and you moved into your own business. What was that transition like for you?
So working in corporate or working for someone else, you were pigeonholed to one specific task, right? Which for me was sales, which was dealing with customers, understanding their behaviors, their intentions, and really listening and understanding the gaps to make sure that it's a good fit for the products and services that you represented that had the same values for that brand. So I understood how to sell based on what I was given and provided, but I knew there were a lot of other solution providers and other options for business owners. So I came from a more holistic standpoint than just a traditional sales rep in that corporation because I had worked for other types of advertising products and services in the world, right? So understanding the corporation standpoint, I actually was reading and really understanding the roles of not just me, but my sales managers, my directors, VPs, and every supporting role along the line, from operations to customer service to collections to the software piece. And I knew there were gaps. I knew that when you're dealing with so many moving parts, there's going to be miscommunication, not in alignment with what's really being said in the sales realm to earn their business than what is actually perceived and produced. And there was a huge gap because we were seeing it from the front end, right? Like the grassroots of it all. But when people are doing their marketing campaigns, branding campaigns, or when there were customer service issues and billing issues, there was a huge disconnect. So when you go with a larger company, there's always going to be a lot of gaps and alignment issues. And that's where I wanted to mend things in a smaller boutique kind of agency, because I knew where the gaps were and I just wanted to represent my business, my clients the right way.
Yeah, tremendous. That sounds really cool. And tell me something, the size of your organization, number of employees today, do you have, because a lot of the digital world, you don't actually have a lot of employees sometimes. And so for yourself, over the 9 years, how big has that organization got to?
So right now we're at about 40 staff, full-time staff. So I've grown it organically based on our client demands. And I try to forecast based on just projections, but it's been a little bit difficult the last couple of years with unpredictability. And I deal with a lot of SMBs, which are bricks and mortar storefront, but they were hit harder than ever. And these were things that were not within our control.
Yeah, absolutely. And so those bricks and mortar organizations, did you have to get in beside them to help them in there, maybe to adapt what they were doing or help them in their online presence?
Oh, yes. So just acknowledging what was going on in the global landscape, we were becoming more of a priority or an extension within their business. I feel like the type of agency we've built was relationship, retention, and long-term, just building that extension as a core role within the organization. So just like a staff or a long-time employee, you want to take care of them. So we were becoming a service provider that was an extension like that. And a lot of businesses understood what we brought to the table, what kind of communication, what they got from us. So they kept us during times of turmoil. But for me, I wanted to really dig deep to really help them along the way, because when people aren't visiting them storefront or they're closed completely, how do you transition to a digital store? Or how do you still earn revenue through recurring income through monthly subscription or something that they didn't even think about when they were just providing a service, like some sort of maintenance contract or something that gives them some sort of influx of cash, prepaid gift cards or something. So I was always thinking of ideas to keep them going, because there was so many uncertainties in the world and you didn't know when things was open or not. And these were government mandated legislation that within their control, things that were not within the control.
Absolutely. Now, John, because you're based in Canada, 2 years down the track, have things opened up again beautifully for businesses and that?
Yeah, so currently things are now open. It's been open for a couple months, but then you're hit with new problems and situations, supply chain issues, the war, disruption of energy prices, inflation. So there's always something. And these are headlines and things that as a business owner, sometimes you just have to live within your control and avoid all the news and disruptors in life. Because if you're going to be caught up with all this, you're going to be running through all these rabbit holes, not knowing what to do, right? So you need to really focus and have clarity on what your whole intention and goals are when you start your business in the first place.
Hey, Dennis. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Now, listeners may pick up the accent already, but whereabouts are you in the world today?
I'm not too far from you. I'm in Sydney, Australia. That's
very
the
good.
accent.
Yeah. And your surname, Italian?
It is. It's Italian, yes. And
Okay.
the U ending is a little bit, throws people off, but it's typically from Sardinia. Don't know if you know the island of Sardinia, gorgeous part of
Yeah.
Italy. That is where surnames come from, with a U ending.
Interesting, because my dad's from an island below Corfu, so between Italy and Greece.
Okay.
A little island called Castos, and it's untouched, 7 kilometers long. But we have quite a lot of the Italians coming over to sort of spend some time over there, which is pretty good. So it's very close. We're close here, Australia, New Zealand,
I know.
but also close from our backgrounds and our heritage as well.
I love it.
Hey, so I've given the listeners a little bit of a background into who you are, but would like to know a little bit more about you. So you're the co-founder and so COO of WebinarNinja, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, which is a SaaS company. And you founded that in 2014.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And then the $100 MBA. Tell us a little bit more about both those organizations or things that you've been doing.
Sure. So the $100 MBA was launched in December of 2013. It was an online course to teach people the fundamentals of business for $100. So not $100,000 like what a typical MBA education would cost. We made it accessible for $100 to teach the fundamentals of business, to get started, to most likely to start an online business or to transition out of a career and and launch that side hustle or that business idea that somebody had.
What you just said there, I think that a lot of our listeners may be today thinking about, hey, I'm actually quite tired of the corporate world or any other, doesn't matter what size of business they're in today. If they're thinking about transitioning out to go and do something else, is it easy to do a transition into something else? And what would be one or two things you might want to suggest them to think about as they start thinking for themselves around that transition?
Great question. So I transitioned out of a teaching career. And my co-founder, who I started the $100 MBA with, and WebinarNinja, is my husband, who is also a teacher, Omar Zenhome. And we both transitioned out of decade-long careers to go full-time into entrepreneurship. So I'm very familiar with what that transition period feels like. And for me personally, I had no business experience. And the first thing that I did to get out of teaching was to give myself a taste of something else that could be a possibility. I've been a big fan of doing short courses. And so I did a 2-day film course while I was living in Dubai at the time. That's where I ended my teaching career officially, because teaching has taken me all over the world. And I did a 2-day film course just to see if it was something that I could explore further. And just that little taster gave me of an idea to then go on to a 4-week filmmaking course. And that was how I found myself in entrepreneurship. Bit of a strange way to get there. But I guess the first thing, there's two things actually I would say, and I'll sum it up really quickly, is I had to decide that I really wanted to leave teaching and that decision phase can take years, and it did take me years. But when I finally decided, I took action and I just did a taster to give me a sense of what could that next thing look like.
Yeah, that's great that you share that taster piece as well and the whole journey, because I think a lot of people feel like they will need to rip the Band-Aid off and go do the whole thing. And I go, hang on a sec, don't go cold turkey. If you're not sure about things, try and do that side hustle or whatever you want to go and do. Start doing it while you've actually got some income coming in. And then you can look at to transition very nicely into whatever you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Now, I understand right now that you're having a blast co-hosting a brand new kind of podcast with you and, is it Kate?
Kate Erickson, yes, the other half of Entrepreneurs on Fire.
Kate Erickson?
Yes.
No way. Oh, that's awesome. So Kate's been on my show as a guest. And so when I was thinking about it, so JLD, John Lee Dumas, and I had sessions with him, and then he put me on to another guy called Travis Chappell.
Travis, awesome.
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
people.
yeah. And Kate, awesome lady. That's really good.
I'm so lucky to have her as a co-host. Yeah, I've been on the production side of the $100. So the $100 MBA, even though it started out as a course, is now much more well-known for the podcast, the $100 MBA Show podcast, which won Best of iTunes, now Apple Podcasts, and it was 2,000 episodes later, top business podcast. I was always on the production side of things, so behind the scenes. So the podcast that I started with Kate, funny enough, during COVID, which I think a lot of podcasts came out during that time, was really something that was a passion project and just a way for her and I to spend each week together, because now we're living on different sides of the world. We used to be neighbors in San Diego. So this was a way for us to do a project together, collaborate. And yeah, so a podcast was born out of that collaboration.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, very, really good. Hey, we're going to go and talk about leadership and that side of things. And we're going to talk it through the lens of from a leader's perspective and so forth. And everyone's had different sort of levels of experience around leadership, and varies on the guests that I've had before, which has been brilliant because we've had people from different backgrounds, which is nice. For yourself, how did you get into leadership?
I'd say out of necessity, because in teaching, I never had a leadership role. I was a member of staff and in my department. And when I transitioned out and I did some freelance videography before the idea of the $100 MBA came about and we started that business, again, I was just managing myself. That was my experience as a freelancer. And when we started our businesses together, the $100 MBA and WebinarNinja, originally it was just me and Omar, and we were wearing all the hats. And so at that stage, again, like I was just trying to pick up the skills that I needed to give as much value and to support the vision and to support the business goals. And it was only when we started hiring teammates that then you start to become aware of the fact that you have to manage people. And by managing people, you have to start to lead. And so originally I was more leaning towards the customer service side of the business. And so that's where I found myself now managing the first person and the second person. And then once one of our teammates became the team lead and the manager of the customer support team, I was then managing her. And so sum it up, 3 words: out of necessity, just through building our businesses.
And when you did that and you're starting to build a team around you, what was 1 or 2 big lessons for you?
Oh, I'd say I had to find that delicate balance of not micromanaging, but also verifying and ensuring that tasks and the work got done. I think it's a big challenge for a lot of people. And I should also mention what's important to note is that our team has been fully remote, completely distributed team since day one. So, before the world went for work from home and all of that. And again, that was out of necessity. We didn't see the future or anything like that. But I'd love to say that was the case. It was purely organically that we grew our team that way. And so with that challenge came verifying that tasks got done and things happened without being so on top of people that they would get frustrated. And so I definitely learned the frustrations perhaps of team members. But at the same time, I had to also not apologize for setting expectations and being clear about what I wanted and the level of work and the quality of work that I wanted, and having people meet those expectations, but also seeing things from their perspective if timelines couldn't be met or things needed revision and adjustment.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.